was last night's game out there at the Globe Life Field in Texas, at Arlington. The Texas Rangers and the San Diego Padres, who had been struggling a little bit, they ran into the Dodgers, the buzzsaw over the weekend. And so last night they jump out 10-3 in the top of the eighth. And then Fernando Tatis Jr. was batting. And what's he supposed to do, Harry, with a 3-0 count? Let's go to Ruben Amaro Jr., one of my favorite people, former player, former bat boy, former player, former manager, former coach.
Former general manager.
Former general manager. And you were on Twitter this morning, Ruben, and you said he shouldn't do that. Fernando Tatis Jr. should not have swung at the 3-0 pitch. Do you stand by those comments at this hour?
Yeah, I do, and there was a reason why he was I guess Jay Stingler put the take on, right? Did he not? Did he miss a sign? Is that what they were saying?
That's what he said afterwards. Yeah. But no, I'm going to ask you a legitimate question. You're 3-0. The pitcher can't throw strikes. So what's he supposed to do? Take a strike? And then what happens after he takes a strike? Or what happens if he gets walked? Why didn't the pitcher just walk him and then to force in another run? Would that have been better? That's my question.
No. I think, listen, I grew up in a different era where a 7-run lead in the eighth inning was basically game over. And maybe I have to rethink this because the Pens are so bad these days.
Yep.
That, guys can come back and win baseball games. I mean, it just didn't happen very often. I don't know, before, 15, 20 years ago, a 7-0 lead was almost never. I mean, it almost never happened that a team would win. I mean, I viewed that that situation as one of those situations where, you don't steal a base up 7-0 when you have same sort of thing, same sort of idea. But listen, first of all, Fernando Tatis was probably never ever taught that. He didn't grow up in that era.
Yeah, but he said he grew up with his dad. His dad was a player. Says he grew up. He knows most of the unwritten rules. But he said after the game, when they pretty much asked him to apologize, he says, "I didn't think I was doing anything wrong." He said, that's one of the unwritten rules that I didn't know about, and I didn't know what to do. And he said he didn't see if there was a take. He didn't see that it was on. But my question is, even if there was a take, why would a manager tell a guy to take who's one of the young superstars blooming in this league, who obviously everybody wants to see hit? I just don't understand what you do, and I understand the point about its unwritten rules and the 7-run lead. But remember, the San Diego Padres, they lost a game where they had a 10-run lead in 2016, and they won a game where they were trailing by 7 last year. So that's
no
what
lead
I think
is safe right now.
You're right, especially with the bullpen.
Yeah.
And maybe, again, maybe that's my problem. But I just don't believe in certain situations that the pitcher was basically laying the pitch in there, I'm sure, which he did. It was it was center cut fastball right down the middle, and he just laid it in there and got it whacked. I mean, listen, maybe in this day and age it's different. Now you have to make, I've seen 3-0 breaking balls at times, so it's that's not out of the realm of possibility. I just think that, in my opinion, and in the era that I lived in, and things may change. I mean, I got to kind of be open-minded and think that these things are different, that no lead is safe. Maybe you're right. I just grew up in a totally different era.
No, me too. I'm older than you, Ruben, so I'm old school too. I go back to that stuff. But one of the things
Tony, it's not about whether the guy's putting up his numbers. To me, it's about whether the guy's winning the game. To me, it should be a game that's won. Okay, and if you honestly believe that if you believe that your team can't hold down a 7-run lead in the eighth inning, then go ahead and whack away. But to me, it's not necessarily about all the guys putting up the best numbers they could possibly. Isn't the game supposed to be about winning?
Yes.
Aren't we supposed to be just winning the game? So they were basically winning the game. It doesn't. I don't think that the bottom line should always be, let's see how many numbers these guys can really put up. That's what we should be looking at, isn't it? Isn't it really more about whether the team is winning or losing?
Yeah, but the point is, you have Tatis up there. He's got a 3-0 count. The bases are loaded. So say, I don't know what happens if he throws a strike and he doesn't swing. What happens? What happens on the next pitch? Is he allowed to swing? And then, by the way, you had Manny Machado right after him,
right,
with one out.
He absolutely should be swinging. To me, that situation, that one pitch, the pitcher, basically the whole stadium knows that the pitcher is going to go in there and lay it in there. And to me, that's almost like a gimme. Here, I'm going to throw a strike to try to keep the inning, make sure I throw a strike, keep the inning alive. And then after that, yeah, absolutely, should be swinging out of his ass if he wants to.
Right. And would they have gotten all incensed if he only hit a single and knocked in one run? It's the fact that he hit the grand slam that everybody's all pissed off, I'm sure.
No, I think that's incorrect.
No?
I believe that had he swung and hit it into a ground ball double play, I think people would still have been pissed off.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
See,
I mean, I know the old school guys would have been.
I guess that's the thing where I just don't understand, and I understand a lot of these unwritten rules, but if you threw 3 pitches and you couldn't find the strike zone, so now since the bases are loaded and we're getting our butts kicked, you're supposed to promise all my teammates that you're not going to swing at this one because I'm going to now groove it down the middle. It just doesn't make sense.
No, I'm with you. I got you, and I understand that. And I understand that logic. I get it. I'm just telling you, that's the thought process. If I was sitting on a bench in 1993 with the Philadelphia Phillies,
right,
and we get our ass kicked by the Atlanta Braves, and Chipper Jones swung at a 3-0 fastball right down the middle with the bases loaded, up 7 runs, there would have been some consequence.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, with that team, with that '93 team, those guys were insane. You were all insane on that team, man.
I'm just saying it was just a totally different era, and maybe that's not the way to think about it these days. Maybe things, people evolve, things evolve, games evolved. I just don't. That was how I was brought up.
Well,
that's how my dad. How my dad taught me to play. That's how Dallas Green taught me to play. That's how Lee Elliott taught me to play. Pretty good baseball. Paul Owens. These are people that I have a lot of respect for. That's how they taught me to play.
No, as do I, and I get it. I get what you're saying.
Well, one benefit of this that Tony and I figured out is now we know who Chris Woodward and Jace Tingler
are. Well, I knew who Chris Woodward was last year, though.
You did?
Because this is one of the things I went off on earlier before you came on, and that was last year, when Mike Minter, the pitcher, Mike Minor, I'm sorry. I get Mike Minter, who was a pitcher. Mike Minor was going for 200 strikeouts, and he had a situation where there was a pop-up in the infield that the catcher, the pitcher, and the first baseman could have caught and should have caught. It would have been the third out, except they were all told to drop the ball, let it drop, so that Minor can get another chance to get his 200 strikeout. Is that not cheating the game if you have guys intentionally drop a ball so the pitcher can get another chance to get a strikeout?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I knew you would agree with that one. I knew you'd agree with something.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the Reds. I want to talk about.
I don't think that's right either. I don't think, especially then it's disrespectful to the next guy hitting.
Exactly. All right, let's talk about the Red Sox. You were there as a coach. You were at the Mets. Phillies now are going on their first road trip of the year after 16 games, and they're going to Boston to play a Red Sox team that has just been absolutely dismal. And then you got the Zach on Zach tonight, Zach Eflin against Zach Godler. Obviously, Godler and Eflin have been around a couple years. The Phillies look like they played well against the Mets. The pitching is getting better. Wheeler's been good. Obviously, Aaron Nola right now is pitching lights out. So are people starting to change their opinions on what's happening in this town? Because Phillies, obviously, their bullpen has looked horrible, but they look good, though, over the weekend against the Mets, at least.
I mean, I hope so. Listen, they play. Baseball is a game of ebbs and flows, and they really were not flowing very well for the first part of the season, and it was very clear that the bullpen was not throwing and that wasn't pitching real well. But it's really a product of their starting pitching very well and consistently. And I think that's what takes the heat off the bullpen. And it actually helps Joe Girardi organize that bullpen in a way so that they can pitch more effectively. I mean, you're not going to have on a roster of 15 pitchers or whatever it is right now, you're not going to have 15 guys who are going to throw well. It just doesn't happen. It's almost like asking everybody in the lineup on every single day to be hot. It just doesn't happen. And so, it's interesting to see that these guys are, when they're put in the right situation, and it has happened more often than not the last 2 or 3 games, that they're rising to the occasion and they're pitching better.
Ruben Amaro Jr. Of course, people are always talking about the Goldbergs, and are you going back to do any more Goldberg episodes?
Oh, yeah.
Well, if Adam asked me back, I'd be happy to go back. It was really fun. I got a chance to be on there, and I think more than anything else, my greatest honor was being able to play my dad.
Yeah.
And then when they allowed me to do that, that was pretty cool.
Well, take us in there. I mean, was it pretty? Were you a natural? I mean, were you a one take guy? Take us through that.
My first time, I literally had one line, and I screwed it up 50 times. As you can imagine. But the second time I went in, for whatever reason, we had a little bit of a time constraint. I had to get back to Philadelphia. Boston was playing in Philly that next morning, or that next evening, and I was at 5 a.m. They shot in Culver City, and I had like maybe 4 or 5 lines in that episode, and actually rattle them off pretty quickly with only like 1 or 2 takes. It was pretty cool.
Now, a lot of people are also asking about the Red Sox, as you were there for a couple of years ago, and now they're playing, they're obviously not doing anything well right now. What is it? I mean, obviously Mookie Betts is gone, but Mookie Betts leaving, as great as he is, what's the problem that you see with the Red Sox? Obviously the Yankees are the team to beat in the American League East and maybe in the entire American League. But what about Oakland A's? I don't want to forget about them, because my friends out in the Bay Area will say, well, don't forget about the Oakland A's. But what's going on with the Red Sox, Ruben?
Oh, it's pitching. I mean, they lost Chris Sale. They moved David Price. Eduardo Rodriguez is out of the rotation. I mean, that's your big 3. Porcello's gone. That's 4. I mean, you got 4 pretty formidable starting pitchers that are no longer, performing for them, and it's very tough for them to hold the other opponents down right now. I mean, I think that they're still pretty scary offense. They swing the bats. I mean, the Devers and Benintendi and Martinez. I mean, these guys can swing the bat. Even Vasquez has done a pretty good job over the last couple of years. I just think that they just don't have the same pitching, and it makes it real tough to win when you don't have pitching.
Yeah, they're not really playing well at home, because, you figured if they'd had any advantage, because it's the only sport where guys are playing home right now, because hockey and basketball aren't, you think at Fenway they'd be able to steal a couple of games. They've been really bad at home, which is a big surprise.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I just think if it can be a hitter's park, particularly with that wall out there, the short porch out there. I think it just makes it very difficult when you can't hold those teams down. There's a lot of really good offenses. There's some guys who can really swing the bat, and they're having a tough time holding them down.
Well, one of the guys that didn't start off so well swinging the bat, but in his last couple games appears to be figuring it out for the Phillies, is Rhys Hoskins. What are you seeing with him, and what was going on in the beginning of the season?
I think that he was. There's a lot of talk about him, changing his batting stance, and in the first, it was pretty obvious he had a different hand position and was doing something different just to try to be more consistent. And I think he was a little uncomfortable with that when they had summer camp start up again. He saw his hands drift up to a different position. And then for me, it was more about a timing issue. And I think he's gotten to the point where he's feeling a little bit more comfortable timing wise. And he's getting a little bit more consistent with his setup. And you see him starting to, he had a big double to right center the other day, drove in 3 runs. He's hitting the ball to the right side a little bit more. I think him just having a better setup and better timing is putting him in a better position to hit.
Well, Ruben, heard you over the weekend in the broadcast booth. So you're going to be doing a lot more games on the Phillies television network, or is that what's going on there? Because I know you were doing post-game and studio stuff, and you were in the booth a lot. That's got to be fun, right?
It was really fun. I mean, T-Mac is great. Tom McCarthy's just fantastic. Love working with him, and all the guys have been helpful. Crucky and Ben and Greg Murphy, they've all been really, really great. And I've enjoyed it. I'm not sure exactly what the schedule is and how many games I'm going to be doing, but whenever I can fill in, I'd be happy to do it. And it's been fun, and hopefully I'll get more chances to do it. Hopefully I'm not embarrassing myself too much.
No, you're doing good, man, except for the unwritten rules. We got to write a new book, Ruben. The new unwritten rules of baseball. Everything is like the Old Testament, then they had to do the New Testament. We need a new unwritten rules of
You actually make a really good point, Tony. I think that that there are new normals now, and I actually tweeted that afterwards. After I got buried on the tweets that I've been buried on, but because maybe I do have to rethink this a little bit. It is a different game. There are different athletes out there, and there's we also have to be cognizant of trying to entertain the fans, right? So so I guess it's, I gotta stay open-minded about it. And, things have changed in the game and things have changed in the world. So maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I need to think about it a little differently.
Now, I feel bad, and I feel like I'm having you come on and do a mea culpa, kneel before Zod. Kneel, and you tell me you were wrong. I need you to keep repeating. I need another apology, and then tomorrow I want you to come back and apologize again, Ruben.
I'm not apologizing. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to evolve. Everybody's trying to evolve a little bit.
See, Harry, this is what a good conversation is about.
Yeah.
I didn't want to bring Ruben on to rip him about his comments on the unwritten rules of baseball. We're going to talk baseball.
Well,
it's not my style to rip. It's not my style to rip people, Ruben. You know that.
I'm not no stranger to ripping. I get full coverage every day.
Now, did you get hammered on Twitter when you posted that this morning?
Oh, absolutely, ripped apart.
I love Twitter, man. Nothing better than Twitter. Nothing like the most knowledgeable people on earth who all gather around Twitter every day to tell everybody how dumb they are and how stupid they are and how they don't know anything about the sport that they played their entire lives and have been around their entire lives.
That's okay. I mean, listen, this is a world about opinions. Sometimes we get paid for our opinions, or we live for our opinions. You can't fault them. I don't. People have something to say; they can say it. My only issue is when people get personal.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't tolerate that.
No, you block them.
I block them. I don't like to block people, but there's like it's like when the umpire, they hear that magic word and it's boom,
you're gone.
Boom, out of here. That's what I do.
Listen, I don't mind the criticism. I've been criticized my whole life, but I don't. But when they get personal is when I get a little sideways.
Exactly right, man. If I tell them to come down here. I say, make your move, as Bobby Bonilla said to the New York sports writers many times in the clubhouse. Make your move. Make your move. You remember those?
Make your move.
Make your move.
That would go over well right now. Right?
Yeah, make your move, sucker.
Right.
Make your move.
Yeah, there it is. Ruben, always great to talk to you, man. Thanks for coming on today, man.
Great to talk to you guys. Be well, okay?
Thanks, Ruben.
Ruben Amaro Jr. Put your hands together, Harry. No, he didn't crash. They had the wrong bank on here. Not Joseph A. Bank. They're going out of business. Come at me, bro. There's another one. Do you even lift, bro?
Yeah.
That's another one. Do you even lift?
That's a good one. I'd love to have Bryce Harper. That's a clown question, bro.
That's a clown question,
when he was with
bro.
the Nationals.
Yeah, exactly.